Excuse me, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Okay, this is just a short explanation about scholarship so that you guys understand what's going on. Not just with me and the KJVO people, but wider around the whole world. There is good scholarship and bad scholarship, okay? Even a good scholar will make mistakes. You know, a good scholar, a good pastor is a human being and therefore makes mistakes. And unfortunately, a lot of people think if a scholar makes a mistake, then everything he says is wrong. That's not true, okay? You have to understand that there's a lot of information that the scholar's working with, and he's tired. He's probably got, you know, a family at home that sometimes gives him trouble, or everybody's got at least one relative they wish that they could stay away from, okay? So he's got all that, plus, you know, in the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, they didn't have the internet to make their job easier. And for the most part of scholastic history, especially in Christendom, you know, you had to work with candle wax and very heavy parchments. It was a nightmare to get anything right. All right? So it's right to criticize, though. But it's also right to understand the circumstances under which these people did their work. Okay? And that's true of pastors, too. All right? They're going to make mistakes, and you have to call out the mistakes and call them what they are. Because if you don't do that, then the whole integrity of scholarship is at risk. All right? Because sooner or later a mistake will surface. That's what's happening in this period of history now. This period of history is designed by God for that purpose since Adam's fall, and it started in March of 2010, and it will last until 2130. It's a scheduled house cleaning. There's nothing to get nervous about. Okay, the idea is to get the corrections made in the mistakes that have been going on for the last 490 years. Okay, it's a typical thing. And, you know, for those of you who've been in the military, you know, or especially those of you who've been to West Point, you know that one of the required courses at West Point is that you have to study some very respected military men of the past, and every single one of them made horrific blunders, both on the field, you know, during a battle, and off the field in strategy. You know, you got the mistakes that Monty made during World War II. You've got a couple of mistakes that Patton made. Some mistakes, of course, that the Germans made in World War I. The mistakes that the French made in constructing the Maginot Line. There are a lot of mistakes you have to learn. That does not detract from your respect for those people. It increases your respect for those people. Okay? So calling attention to mistakes or errors or false doctrine or lies is an important auditing function. And you are not being objective if you don't do it. All right? And that's on the good scholars, the good generals, the good pastors. I had to do that with my own pastor. I spent I want to say 12 years. But he kept auditing himself. So I only found a few things that were really important to add. And I put, the biggest one is how he accounted time. He was on the right track, but he didn't go far enough with it, as far as I can tell. And so I had to construct the How God Constructs Time playlist, because that's an extremely important doctrine. Christendom has missed for 2,000 years. The Jews knew it, in part. It got garbled in the first century, okay? But they did know. And it needs to be recovered. It's important to Judaism. It's important to Christendom of all denominations. It elucidates the Bible in a way we haven't recognized, okay? And it vindicates the Jews, frankly. So that's a doctrine that I had to put out there. The same thing is true for some of these other doctrines you'll hear people arguing about. All right, the KJVO, by contrast, their leaders are all very bad scholars. They're just out to make a buck. They'll tell you any lie that they can get away with so that you buy their books and make them rich. Okay? And there are a lot of bad scholars out there debunking the Bible, but the KJVO are actually out to destroy the Bible. That's their hidden agenda. They're out to destroy the original languages. They're out to destroy the scholars who worked in those languages, so that all you're left with is a flawed translation, but you'll have no way to audit the translation to know that it's wrong. Okay, now the KJV was compiled, however, by good scholars. It was translated by good scholars, and you know what? It was the 16th century. It was hot. They had no air conditioning. They didn't have the computer stuff we've got. They only had a few manuscripts to work with. They did the best they could, and they did a pretty darn good job. But they did make mistakes, and they even admitted that in their own preface. So a good person can make mistakes, and you allow for that, and you honor the person the more if you call attention to those mistakes. Because those people are in heaven, the KJV translators. And the one thing they want above all else is for the mistakes that they made to be corrected. That honors them. My pastor is dead. If he made mistakes, he wants them corrected. That honors him. By contrast, the KJVO people are out to destroy the Bible. All the Bible debunkers are out to destroy it because they feel threatened, because they don't do their homework. So understand the difference. It's good scholarship for the most part. We got a really reliable Bible. But you know what? They're mistakes. Not made by God, but made by the men transmitting what God's Word is. But God's Word is still in there. The trick is it's like barnacles. You know, it's like dirt on top of a cloth. You got to clear away the dirt so you can see the pure, clean cloth of God's Word. That's the task we're all engaged in now. Between 2010 and 2130, that's the job God has assigned to this period in history. So either be on the right side of it and look at the good scholarship and really get into the Bible's original languages, or be on the wrong side of it with the KJVO and get flooded out during this period of history. It's that stark of a choice, and it's your choice.